welcome to my pre-algebra math class. Today in class we are going to be studying conversions. We're going to be doing that by utilizing a chocolate cupcake recipe. So let's get started, class. Alright, so as your main information, I want you to know your original recipe yields for 16 servings. What do we want? We want to convert that into 8 servings. So let's go ahead and get started. First ingredient is butter. So we have 10 tablespoons of butter that our original recipe calls for. We want half of that. So we're going to take 10 and we're going to divide it by 2. So what's 10 divided by 2? Correct, 5. Great, that's a nice and easy one. Let's move on to sugar. For sugar, it gets a little more tricky because now it's asking for 1 1/4 of a cup of sugar. So let's make this simple for you and turn this fraction into a whole number. How are we going to do that? We're going to take 1. What's 1 into a whole number? 1. Perfect. And what's a quarter and a whole number? 1/4. What is that? It's 0.25. Great. So what's that? It's 1.25 would be our whole number conversion. So we're going to do that, and we're going to convert 1.25 divided by 2 to get our new number. And what does that give us? 0.625. Great. Now, we're going to move on to eggs. It calls for 4 eggs. This one's nice and simple. We're going to take our original number. We're going to divide it by 2, and that's going to give us a 2. So we're going to need 2 eggs on our new recipe. Next one is vanilla extract. It calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So let's do this. We're going to multiply this time to make it a little different. We're going to take 1, and we're going to multiply it by half, because that's what we want. We want half. So half of 1 is 0.5. So we have 1 times 0.5. What is that? Correct. 0.50. Everything multiplied by 1 is the same amount. Alright, so let's move on to flour. Flour. Over here it's asking us for 1.5 cups of flour. So we're going to convert this fraction into a whole number again. 1, we already said it was 1. And what's half a cup into a whole number? What's half? 0.5. So 1.5 times 0.5, which is half, what we're trying to get, that gives us 7.5. 5. Great. Cocoa powder, 3/4 of a cup of cocoa powder. So let's use common denominators on this one. So we're going to subtract. You know the only way of subtracting or adding numbers is with the common denominator. So we have 3/4 over here, and we want half of that. So we're going to subtract, what's half of 3? 1.5. So we're going to take 3 minus 1.5 over the same one. It's 1.5. And the denominator stays the same. Nice and easy. What does that convert to? 0.375. Let's use those calculators. We have them for a reason. Let's move on to the baking powder. Nice and easy. It calls for 2 teaspoons of it. We need half of that. So we take 2 and we divide it by 2, and it gives us 1. Great. Salt. 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Let's use that common denominator again until we nailed it down. We have 1/4 over here, our original number. We want half of that, so we're going to do 0.5. So 1 minus 0.5, 0.5 over 4. What's that converted, class? 0.125. Great. So the last one, we have milk, and we have 3/4 of a cup. Let's go ahead and multiply again. So we have 3/4 times 0.5. What does that give us? 0.375. Great. So we've done this. Nice and easy. Remember, we can always use our calculator. So let's go ahead and make this delicious, delicious recipe. Alright, class, so let's put this delicious recipe together. We have the butter as our first ingredient. We have, for our new recipe has 5 tablespoons. 5 tablespoons right in there. Let's move on to our sugar. Our sugar, we have 0.65, which turns to 1/2 cup and 2 tablespoons of sugar. Let's add that in there. First step, we're going to put those 2 ingredients. We're going to beat them up real good. Beat them up, beat them up. Once they're nice and fluffy, we're going to go ahead and go to our next couple of steps. We have the eggs. 2 eggs, we said, right? Because we needed 4 in the original one. We add those nice 2 eggs in there. Let's go beat them up really nicely. Beautiful. And let's add our vanilla. For the vanilla, we need half a teaspoon because we had our conversion at 0.5, right? So that's half a teaspoon. Goes right in there. Beat that in there as well. Oh, nice. All right, next ingredient, let's go to our flour. Our flour, we had 0.375. What does that convert to in our recipe? It's 3/4 of a cup. Add that right in there. Let's whisk that in there as well. Get a nice. So let's go ahead and add our cocoa powder. Great. Cocoa powder is in. And for our next ingredient, we're going to add our baking powder and our salt. Just for the salt, it's just going to be a pinch. Alrighty. For the milk, we have a fourth of a cup and 2 tablespoons of milk. So let's add that right in there. Let's mix those all up. Whoa. It's chocolatey. For our next step, let's go ahead and add our cupcake mix into our cupcake pan. Easy way of doing that. Ice cream scoop. Take the ice cream scoop. Add a little more. And wonderful. So class, we're going to go ahead and pop this in the oven at 375 for 20 minutes. Go do that real quick. Set up for 25 minutes, and when those 25 minutes have passed, your end result should look like this. Great job, class.